Hello, welcome to Quackalope, thank you for being here. I get to give you a first look at Tidal Blades 2 Rise of the Unfolders, coming to a crowdfunding platform near you on 2/22/22, or February 22nd, 2002. That's only a few months away. Now, in the prototype I have here beside me, we actually have 6 of the 18 scenario campaigns that are going to be available to you during the Kickstarter. This is going to be a RPG light dungeon crawling adventure where you get a chance to imbue yourself with the characters that you fell in love with during Tidal Blades 1, dive into the world, learn more about the Rift, and of course explore the incredible lore, artwork, and just overall storytelling that Mr. Cuddington and the team over at Skybound are able to bring to you. I'm insanely excited for this. I enjoyed Tidal Blades 1 quite a bit. It was a worker placement, dice upgrading, and leveling system with a lot of fun, pressure, luck, and an amazing world and aesthetic to explore. But I'm going to be honest, as I was following along with the campaign, it was the narrative bits that kept pulling me back in, tying me to this world, and when that art book showed up, I spent more time in my unboxing video highlighting and being excited about the world they made than diving into the chunky dice and squishy berries. Now, not to undermine chunky dice or squishy berries, the production quality was absolutely astronomical, but it has to do with this vibrant reef town-like culture that they've created. A whole slew of diverse characters and creatures mingling and mixing together to go on a quest to become a Tidal Blade. And here, in Tidal Blades 2, you're joining forces with those original beloved characters in order to dive back into this world the moment that they've officially been crowned or knighted or instigated as Tidal Blades, protectors of the reef. This is nothing like the original game, other than the art and the aesthetic, but Skybound is still keeping everything true to what that original game felt like, as far as I'm concerned. You see, this is going to be a dungeon crawl, focused on 2 core elements of the game system. First off is going to be your dungeon map and your story booklet, which I'm going to dive into here in just a moment. Like I said, we have 6 events, or 6 scenarios that each play about 60 to 120 minutes, anywhere from 1 to, I believe, 5 players. And this is going to be a dungeon crawl true and true. You'll be diving into the board here, exploring the map, fighting various creatures, and as you play, flipping over pages to reveal new locations and new obstacles to face. The cool thing about what they're doing here is they have a twofold book system, getting rid of a seam down the middle and allowing you to upgrade, change, and save your play progress easier than ever before. And this third map book here that I haven't had a chance to dive into yet because it doesn't come in until a few later scenarios, I'm really excited about it because it's just going to expand things in a more immersive way. Instead of playing on this 2-track, we'll start bridging out in various directions. I'm just not that far yet, and I'm going to be honest, I'm enjoying this enough that I don't want to spoil myself. So, that's the core classic element. You know what a dungeon crawl is. You know what a heroic adventure, a party of defenders is. But what you don't know, what you don't normally pay attention to when you're playing a dungeon crawl, is going to be the programming that you're doing down on your board. This is where Tidal Blades 2 starts to add in its own unique flavor into this genre of game. You see, every character that you play with is going to have their own deck of cards, their own progression, if you will. And over the course of the game, you'll gain wounds, experience, various fruits, which are the currency here at the marketplace, and you'll start upgrading your personal goals, your trait upgrades, and your skills. The better you are at accomplishing various tasks that you've been given for each scenario, the better you are at leveling yourself up. You'll gain an arsenal of new cards, weapons, and resources, be able to buff your experience when you go back to town, and of course, upgrading your starting stats. Every character has the same generic board. We all are able to utilize synergy, spirit, focus, and resistance, or resilience, and we all have the same basic board, the area where you're going to be playing cards into your programming sequence. The way that you start playing differently is going to be your own unique goals and these cards right here. You see, when you dive into the game, you're going to be drawing up a certain number of cards. Typically it's going to be 3. You're going to then pick one of those cards to go ahead and install in your initiative track. That's going to change how quickly you act around the table. After that has happened, your creatures or your enemies will draw their cards, triggering whatever fight or attack they're going to be doing, and you'll start the sequence of play. You'll take the card that you've installed over here in your initiative order, and you'll set it onto your game board. Now, the game board's divided in a 3x3 grid. Each grid, or each location, has its own buff. An extra die, more stamina, maybe some shields or shell shields, extra health that you can give to you or someone standing next to you. And every card that you add is going to add its own modifiers right alongside of that, sometimes with additional cost or an additional price you have to pay, and oftentimes with the ability to sequence, level up, or pair with other cards on your gear grid. You'll choose where you want to add this, slot it in, and then resolve a column or a row in the area where you just slotted that card. Now, here's why that matters. As you play the game, those cards stay there, giving you a boost, more powerful actions, or potentially covering up important locations that you need to use 2 or 3 sequences down. And anytime you filled up a gear grid so that there's a row or column of 3 cards, you'll wipe everything, restarting from 0, sort of a debuff, or in some cases, a helpful opportunity to get a little bit more health. This ebb and flow, this programming sequence, starts coming to life as you start adding more and more cards into your deck. You start customizing the way you play. Can you move insanely fast, stab once or twice, or pair cards together to do a massive single attack? Now, you might not be good for 2 or 3 rounds after that, but man, was that single strike worth it? That's where Tidal Blades 2 starts to come alive. It's a classic dungeon crawl, with, I would argue, a unique and vibrant aesthetic. But the programming here, the card play, and the leveling system adds a whole nother degree of immersion. Along with that, the different stats and skills that you have give you the opportunity to buff, debuff, roll, and unlock your dice. As I roll, you'll notice a variety of symbols here, from generic strikes, which are going to be the red, to your yellow focus locations. These are things where you could spend a focus resource or a focus skill in order to turn those into hits, meaning that you have a bit of control over your dice before you roll and after you roll, in a similar fashion to how Tidal Blades 1 utilized and played with your dice leveling mechanic and system. This is also going to take advantage of dice manipulation and give you as much control or as much randomness as you want when it comes to throwing punches and taking names. So, I've given you an overview of Tidal Blades 2. I've talked to you a little bit about the world and the environment, the fact that it's a classic dungeon crawl with high fantasy and Rift-like RPG tendencies, and talked to you about the leveling system of your character, and of course the programming system here on your player board. The only thing that I don't think I've told you about is going to be wounds, returning to village, and then the story that we're actually playing in. I've got to give you a taste just to get you excited. So, what's the consequence to such a cool leveling system? Well, not only do you have a location where you can play cards and take advantage of special abilities, but this is also representing the scars and wounds that you take throughout the course of battle. As you fight, you're going to be taking your health down, and every time you cross over a wound location, you're going to be grabbing and adding one of these to the board. This cannot be discarded from your Nexus, which is the technology that allows you to manipulate and kind of fast forward and rewind or reverse time. It's one of the Tidal Blades' chief technologies that let them defend the shoreline, defend it from the creatures coming across the rift. Your wounds start clogging that. They make it hard for you to focus, hard for you to utilize the technology that you have. And of course, your scars are going to leave a lasting impact on, your gear grid. Every time you take a wound and end a scenario, you'll chart that down on your player board. As you pass certain locations here, you'll start taking scars. Scars can add up quickly, and they can be incredibly mean because they shuffle directly into your deck. When you draw one out, you have to play it onto your board, and it is going to debuff a location and usually have some other nasty consequences in association with it. So deciding where you place them and how constricted your board gets starts becoming a real choice throughout the course of the game. Along with that, these wounds can still be collected even if you have scars on your board, meaning rows and columns could be completely clogged down. You might only be able to take advantage of a single action or two at the later stages of the game. This type of narrative debuff makes you really careful and makes you have to maneuver and filter around the enemies that you have. You have to be smart in the way that you activate and use your gear grid, smart in where you put down those scar or wound tokens, and of course, you need to avoid getting hit as much as possible, because if you get completely knocked out, well, time will have to be reversed, and you'll have to re-engage with the combat. Now, there's two ways to progress the game in the 18 scenario campaign. The encouraged way is to make sure that you play and replay each scenario until you've accomplished it to the best of your ability or to the standard that you want to set. You see, as you progress forward, the better that you do at each narrative story or each story arc, that is going to have a ripple effect on the next pages of the gamebook, giving you more experience, giving you levels up, and giving you the opportunity to continue going on varying quests. Now, if you decide that you just want to see the story, and you don't want to make sure that you've completed or solved every puzzle presented to you, there will be the opportunity to fail forward. That means you get a bit of a debuff, you take one of the lower results, but you get to continue playing the game and progressing along the storyline. For myself, I think both are reasonable options, but I'm always going to choose to re-engage with the puzzle and do my best to overcome it before progressing with the story. So, told you about wounds, let's talk about stopping by a village. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail because there will be a point where we get a chance to show this off, but at certain moments in the game, you'll take your party back to the Tidal Rift Village. I forget the name of it at the moment. There you'll be able to visit various shops, unlock technology, upgrade and level up your characters, gain experience, and heal wounds or scars that are in your deck. Now, the game will walk you through how you do all of this, but this is going to be spread over a certain number of days where you get to take an action every day at various local establishments as you play. It gives you and your party a chance to customize how you want to continue playing the game. So, with that being said, I think that's a preview of Tidal Blades 2. All we need is a bit of flavor text. Now, this is the introduction to Chapter 1, so I won't make it through the entirety of this in this video. You'll have to stay tuned, because we're going to be bringing you, like I said, all 6 chapters here to my channel and some others down the road soon. The Banner Festival. Cheers echo across the gentle water from Trials Stadium. Hundreds of colorful banners adorn the crowded floating platforms and staircases, all bursting with activity in the midday heat. As the newly appointed Tidal Blades, this is your first real break since your accelerated training in the Citadel. It's a strange and sudden change of pace, but your sore muscles are thankful for the rest. Don't like this, Kanan grunts, squinting in the blinding sun. See there? Outposts are deserted. Most Coral Guards are deployed to the Fold's edge by this morning's decree, Echo says without looking away from her book. This far south, risks of an attack are minimal. By the primeval salt, my friends. Relax, Sagashi says, shoving a jellyfish smoothie in each of their hands. I don't know about you, but this is my first Banner Festival, and I'm having a blast. Ho, Goya stars! I have yet to try one. The chameleon veers off towards a cart laden with golden fruit, and the rest of the Tidal Blades exchange an amused glance. Sagashi has been upbeat lately. Apparently Drew, his pet Isipod, sensed his lost wife's presence again in the Fold. The fact that the Fold and hyperdimensional barrier that protects Naviri from the apocalyptic swarm of beasts is on the brink of collapse hasn't seemed to temper his enthusiasm. Dust sighs, struggling in her unwieldy ceremonial clothing. I know that, as the new Tidal Blades, we have traditional outfits to wear, but I swear, those trowel caps are not made for human heads. Battle gear would be more natural. With a sharp pop, Axel warps out of thin air in front of Dust and rolls to his feet. Who needs battle gear when your whole body is a weapon? He grins. Check this out. Axel reappears a few paces away and throws a fury of playful kicks at Cayman's torso. The towering croc stands still, frowning flatly down at him. We shouldn't be using our shell shields for recreational purposes, Echo says. Although that was a masterful demonstration of time leaps, Axel, son of Braze. Suddenly, the dock lurches underneath them. A horn echoes in the distance. Frightened shouts rise from the crowd all around them. And that's where we'll leave you. So, if you're excited like I am, make sure you stay tuned for more content here on this channel and on a few others for Tidal Blades 2. And remember, whatever you do, do the important thing. Get out and play some games. We'll see you next time. Thank you.